Our next reading is from John chapter 11 verses 38 through to 45. It's the raising of Lazarus. Again, this comes from Tom Wright's New Testament for Everyone. Jesus was once again deeply troubled within himself. He came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was placed in front of it. "Take away the stone," said Jesus. "But Master," said Martha, the dead man's sister, "there'll be a smell. It's the 4th day already." "Didn't I tell you," said Jesus, "that if you believed you would see God's glory?" So they took the stone away. Jesus lifted up his eyes. "Thank you, Father," he said, "for hearing me. I know you always hear me, but I've said this because of the crowd standing round, so that they may believe that you sent me." And with these words he gave a loud shout, "Lazarus, come out!" And the dead man came out. He was tied up hand and foot with strips of linen, and his face was wrapped with a cloth. "Untie him," said Jesus, "and let him go." The result of all this was that several of the Judeans who had come to Mary and who had seen what he had done believed in him. Amen, and may God add his blessing to these readings from his holy word. One of the passages that was set for today, but unfortunately we didn't use, was the story of Ezekiel in the Valley of the Dry Bones. It's chapter 37 if you want to read it for yourself later. And I'm sure that many people will be more familiar with the spiritual song Dem Bones, for which I'm sure you're grateful that I'm not singing it. However, that reading from Ezekiel and the reading here from John's Gospel feature two groups of individuals, or former individuals, that have absolutely no business getting up and around. Ezekiel spoke to a valley of skeletons who were commanded to come back to life. Our reading from John's Gospel tells of a similar command. Lazarus, who's been dead so long he's been decomposing, lies at rest in the tomb. Game over. He's dead. There's no coming back from that. And yet, as was mentioned by Jesus himself in verse 4, the sickness will not end in death, but instead so that God may be glorified. So we stand here at the door of the tomb, waiting for that stone to be rolled away and that the grave may be opened. It is love that has let Lazarus die. But how then can love come from death? And what follows is a demonstration of the power and the glory of God. It's a demonstration that regardless of the darkness of the situation, the power of God is there. When we get to Easter, there is a darkness after the cross. As the sky is darkened and Jesus himself lay in his own tomb, perhaps Mary, Martha and Lazarus remembered this moment. They had their own preview of Easter. And Lazarus is a demonstration of what's possible through God. It's a sneak preview of Easter. And if Easter is the main event, perhaps Lazarus is the trailer. Perhaps it should have spoiler tags attached to it, so that you don't have the big reveal at Easter ruined. Lazarus' story begins with his ending. But it's from that end there is a new beginning. And perhaps as he stood at the entrance to the tomb, Jesus knew what was coming, knowing what he would face on the day of his own resurrection. But here in his actions, Jesus wanted to instill a deeper faith in the people. And in his prayer, Jesus called upon the Lord that he wanted the people to believe that God the Father had sent him, And as he spoke, Jesus spoke with the voice of the one who has the power over death. In any crisis, there is always something on the other side. As we weather the storm just now, as we shelter ourselves away from possible infection, and as we find new ways to live, new ways to work, and like this, new ways to worship, there will be light ahead, even though it feels very, very dark just now. After the storm, there will be sunshine. It is God who has the last word. Between his death and his rising to life, Lazarus' family were plunged into darkness. They would not have imagined how the death of their loved one could reveal the glory of God. But the reveal happened. Before the family, before that crowd of witnesses, the power and the glory of God was revealed. And if we believe that Jesus really is the resurrection and the life, then we too are promised a physical resurrection on the last day. God is doing more things than we can ever imagine, and the glory of the resurrection will reveal it to us all. We just have to trust him. Trust that he will guide us all out of the darkness. Amen.